Okay, so as you can see here, this is the module 8. So we're just getting to the end of this specialization. Remember that we have 10 modules, not 10 modules. We're on the module 8, so we have two modules more, and that's it. No? So as you can see here, today we're going to talk about this last skill, but it's not, it doesn't mean that it's the last skill in the order, no? No, don't forget about it, because we are practice all the skills together when we teach this language, all right? So here, as you can see, we're going to talk about the writing skill, all right? And the topic of this session is related to analyze the writing, the process of writing, and also we are going to describe some characteristics, some aspects that we are going to have in a written test. No? So these are the two principal points that we are going to cover or to talk about in this session, all right? So let's start. And let's start by asking here a common question. No? As the other sessions that we had, what is writing? So we talked about what is listening, what is reading, what is speaking. Now, let me hear you. What is writing for you? Can you give me some ideas? What do you have in mind according to writing? What is writing?
A kind of communication.
Yes, that's it. It's a kind of communication, all right? Anybody else?
Of course it is. It's a skill.
Yeah, all right, okay. Any other idea,
It's the most important to communicate.
Yeah, one of the most important skills in order to communicate. Yeah, what else? Tell me more about it.
It's a manner to transcribe the idea or what you want or what you know about that, about the, I know one things.
Yeah, so it's a way to describe, to transcribe, right?
Transcribe,
okay, what you think, what you have in mind, your ideas, your thoughts. That's good. Anybody else?
Yeah, teacher, it's a way to represent graphically something you are thinking. Yeah, that.
Okay, yes. It's a way of representing. Excuse me again, please.
It's a describe aspect.
Yeah, we are going to describe aspects. Okay, all right. No more.
Using grammatical rules.
Using grammatical
Rules.
tools. Okay, that's another point. Using grammatical tools. All right, so all of you agree with the notion of writing is a kind of communication. No? We are going to transmit our ideas, our thoughts. No? But remember here we have a similitude with the speaking, right? When we speak, we also transmit, we also communicate. What would be the difference? I think we're going to talk about it. So what would be the difference between these two kind of communication or transmission? Both, as you know, speaking and writing are called the productive skills, no? So it means that we're going to produce. We're going to produce. Reading and listening are related to the receptive. We are going to receive, no? Receive information, understand, decodify. No? But the other ones, the speaking and the writing skills, we are going to produce, we are going to transmit, all right? So we are going to communicate something, no? Our ideas, our thoughts, our beliefs, what we think, all right? So let's see some of these, some definitions that we have related to this skill. No? Let's see. For example, Williamson from 1978 states that writing is the act of making up correct sentences and transmitting them through the visual medium as marked on paper. Notice, this is a kind of transmission, all right? It's a kind of transmission, but how? We are going to transmit this information or these messages through a visual medium as marked on paper. And we are going to make up sentences. No? And here I specify correct sentences. Then we're going to analyze this aspect. Now, let's pass to another definition. Troika, 1987, states that writing is a way of communicating a message to a reader for a purpose. The purposes of writing are to express oneself, to provide information for one's reader, to persuade one's reader, and to create a literary work. Notice here is further, no? The definition is further, not just communicating, transmitting through a paper, no, the visual medium. Now here, oh, please don't forget, don't forget, please, the board. Oh, I'm going to erase this. Maybe your child is trying to, yeah, I'm going to deactivate. Just a minute, just a minute. Yeah, okay. So as you can see here, and as I was talking to you, here on the second definition is further, no? It's not just a way of transmitting or communicating our messages or through sentences. Here it involves the purposes of communication, right? So we have, as human beings, we have a lot of purposes of communication: to express, to provide information, to persuade, also to create, and this is called a sophisticated written test, literary work, no? So remember that we produce written tests in two kind of ways, no? So this is the normal, the common writing that we do, for example, when we write messages, no, short messages, or maybe an informal letter. But the other one is related to the literary work. This is a sophisticated written test, no, that we're going to use a lot of techniques in order to write. So we have these two kind of ways. Notice, to express our purposes, no, oneself's purposes, provide information, to persuade someone else, and also to create a literary work. No? So notice here, this definition is expanding. No? It's expanding. It's talking about more aspects of writing. So notice here in these two definitions that we are going to transmit, as you told me, no? As you told me, it is a way of transmitting or communicating our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas. But how? Notice how we're going to use some visual medium. We're going to use some visual medium. This is the difference with the spoken language. No? When we speak, we don't use something visual, right? Like letters or graphs or graphemes, no? We don't use that. But in the writing, we're going to use this visual medium, no? And we usually use this visual medium marked on paper, no? As the first definition says. Now we're going to see any other definitions. Yeah, this is more informal, not written by the specialist. So, writing is also the creation of written discourse. No? This is a written language, a written text. We are going to put sentences together to form a text. No? This is something important, a special characteristic. So when we write, we're going to write sentences and we are going to connect sentences together to form a test, not to make up a test. But before we could make phrases and then paragraphs, and then you have the complete test. No? It is a practical means for fixing or consolidating various language components. Notice here, we're going to combine, we're going to consolidate, we're going to fix various components of language, such as vocabulary, syntax, notice here, functions. For example, one of your partners says, no, we are going to use some grammatical tools. Yeah, so this is related to syntax, all right? So we are going to use these components of language in order to create our sentence or make up our sentences or phrases or a complete text. Also, notice here, it is a means of reinforcing other skills before and while writing. Writers gather data or information by observing, reading, listening, and talking to others. So we are going to connect. Now, this is what I told you the last sessions too. Now, when we talk about a skill or reading lesson or speaking lesson, it doesn't mean that we are going to do just speaking or just reading or just writing. No, here they involve more skills, no? We are going to reinforce other skills before. Oh, again, Galia, Indira, please. Oh, what happened here? Why it doesn't work? Let's see, let's see. Yeah, please don't forget. Yeah, all right. So we are going to use these other skills, no? In the process of writing, notice, in the process of writing, we're going to use the other skills because we're going to observe, we're going to read, we're going to listen and talk to others, all right? So it involves all the different skills when we are going to write, okay? So notice here now you have a better definition of what writing is, okay? So it's a way of communicating, of transmitting messages, information. It depends on the purpose of communication. Remember, it depends on the purpose of communication. And we are going to use some visual media, no? Some visual medium in order to represent these messages, no? And we are going to create or make up sentences, and we are going to put these sentences together to create or make up a text, no? This is in a general way what writing is about, okay? So don't forget, so we have analyzed the definition of the concept of writing. Now, why learn to write? What is so necessary to learn to write? Can you give me some ideas? Why? Why is necessary to learn to write?
To leave a message for other people during the time, for example, or to transmit ideas or messages to people that are far from us.
Yeah, all right, okay. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. This is a social aspect, huh? The interaction. Any other idea? Yes, that's good, that's good. No more, no more.
To transmit knowledge.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else? What else? To transmit knowledge, to transmit messages through time, over distance.
Because we need to communicate something in our representation language.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we need to communicate in a represented language. All right.
To perpetuate information.
Yeah, that's good, Tanya. Juan Carlos?
For me, it's portray your idea for permanent, in a permanent situation.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned one of the characteristics of a written test. So to transmit some permanent messages or information. All right, yeah, so as you told me, these are some of the reasons that we need to learn how to write. No? So here we are going to see other reasons. One of the reasons is because of the role of literacy in society. Remember, in our society, it's so important to read and write. Remember that literacy is taking to be able to read and write, but as I told you before, nowadays, this term of literacy is not just to know how to read or how to write. It involves also to speak, no? Or listen. But most of the time, literacy is represented by the capacity, the ability to read and write. So that's why it's so important in our society to know how to write, all right? Because of the literacy. If you don't know how to read or how to write, it means that you are illiterate, no? You are considered an illiterate. So notice here the importance of writing in our society, all right? Because of literacy. Flor says, John says it's necessary to communicate and improve our grammar. Flor says to remember something as documents or books. That's it. So notice here, one of these is the literacy. The need for citizens to be able to write and read became vital in order for bureaucratic organization to be successful. Notice it's very important to know how to write, because you can have the possibility to communicate not just in an informal situation. Maybe you want to communicate in your job through some written tests or written reports or written letters. So it's a kind of bureaucracy organization. And if you manage to do that, you're gonna be successful, all right? Sometimes, for example, some people says, oh no, I don't know how to write, for example, an appliance, or I don't know how to write a formal letters or a CV. No, notice, if you don't know that, part of your interaction in society is missing, all right? So it's so important in our society to know how to write. This is another reason. Now, in the context of education, it is also worth remembering that most exams, whether they are testing foreign language abilities or other skills, often relied on the students' writing proficiency in order to measure their knowledge. Notice, now we are talking about education. What happened of education when you are taking an examination, for example, or an international examination, you are required to write. Even you are tested in all the different skills, but most of the time you are measured on your writing proficiency about the language, all right? So notice here how it's important, how important is to know how to write, to learn to write. One is the literacy. Second is the importance of the society, your social interaction, not in common situations or in normal situations or daily situations, on your job or some companies, organizations. So you need how to write. And the last one is related to the education to measure your proficiency of a language, in this case, English, the foreign language. So most of these examinations measure the writing proficiency, all right? So you need to know how to write, so important, all right? Sometimes we consider writing not so important because we can communicate faster when we speak, right? And nowadays, with the appearance of technology, we are losing this ability of writing, because sometimes you write and the machine corrects it, and you maybe look for some models or prototypes how to write, and you don't analyze the different strategies or techniques that we need to use in each specific type of test or genre. Then we are going to talk about this, the term genre, right? So notice how important is to write, know how to write, okay? Now, let's pass to the students. Why writing is important for students? Can you tell me?
Literacy.
Yeah, all right, okay.
It's one of the skills that the human has now, and we have to keep this ability, I think. Many young people are losing many abilities on their hands. They don't know how to draw a correct circle, for example, and they have a terrible letter. They have to keep their abilities and how to express the ideas in a writing way shows how the person is learning many things.
That's right. No, as you told me, this is one of the skills of a language that all students who are learning a foreign language, not only the foreign language, the native language too, need to acquire, no? Need to acquire. As you told us, yes, and it's true, no? Nowadays, our students are losing this, as I told you before, no? We are losing this kind of techniques or strategies, the way how we are going to write each specific test, no? Because we have different type of tests. Okay, yes, so let's see here. Notice one of the benefits, if you could say that, is the writing help our students to acquire useful techniques for effective writing. This is so important. And as I told you, we're losing this technique. We're missing these techniques. Another one is that it helps them learn specific skills that apply to all forms of writing. Also, it familiarizes them with common writing mistakes. Help them develop specific skills to meet unique writing demands, the purposes, no? The purposes of writing. And with this kind of benefits, so our students are going to communicate a specific information or ideas utilizing the format, language, and content relevant to a specific context. So if they acquire these techniques, these specific skills, when they are going to write, and when they are going to recognize also the mistakes when they write, or they are going to identify the different purposes of writing. So with this, they are going to communicate their ideas, their information, using a correct format, language, and content to a specific context. So this is why writing is so important for our students. Sometimes as a teacher, we say that, oh, writing, and what do we do? So, yeah, so this is your task. We give just some brief instructions, and yeah, you have to write it. Why? Because writing, this is skill, one of the disadvantages, we could say that, writing involves a lot of time, no? It's a time-consuming activity because we're going to pass through different stages, different steps in order to write. So you need time in order to develop the different specific or sub skills of writing. So that's why that some teachers omit this part and give this writing task just as a task, as homework. And then you correct it and then you give a feedback and that's it. But we don't develop in class the different techniques, the different ways to write, according to each purpose, according to each type of test. So that's why it's so important, remember this. It's so important to develop these techniques for an effective writing in our students. Now, oh, someone is coming, all right. How people write? can you tell me, how do you write? Don't tell me, please, oh, teacher, I use a pencil or pen, and then I pick up a paper and start writing. No, tell me about the process. What do you write? Or how do you write, sorry. How do you write?
We coordinate the hands with the print.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
it's necessary, teacher, to use connectors.
Yeah, okay. Try to remember how, imagine that you want to write a letter to your friend. Nowadays, we write this letter in a digital way, no? But try to remember the past, some years ago, when you pick up a paper and you want to write a letter to your friend. What do you do first?
The date.
Yeah, all right.
The place, the date, the name, the greeting.
Yeah, all right. So this is the pattern, no? The structure of the test. But I'm talking about writing in general. So that's, you just pick up the paper and start writing? That's it?
I have to think, what do I want to express? What do I want to communicate?
Yeah, Tanya, notice first, we must think what we are going to write. What else?
We have to use the specific graphemes and words that we are going to use to express in a right way our ideas or the message that we want to tell.
So we're going to pass, no? From your mind to the paper, right? And as your partner says, we are going to use some symbols, no? Some graphemes, which represent these messages. No? So with these graphemes, with the letters, we make up words, all right? And with these words, we make up sentence, phrases, sentences, and we have a test. All right, so here, notice what is involved in the process in writing. So let's see, we are going to analyze. As you know, writing is used for a wide variety of purposes. It is producing many different forms. For example, you write notes, you write emails, letters, essays, stories, signs, advertisement, subtitles, articles, diaries, journals, magazines, plays, recipes, labels, brands, brochures, maps, textbooks. Notice all the different types or different forms or a written test. So in order to do that, notice, in order to do that, we are going to analyze some aspects. So we are going to analyze some features, right? When we consider how people write. And some of them you told me, all right? Some of them you told me. For example, we must consider the audience. Who is the person who is going to read? No? Who is the person who's gonna read our test? Then you have the editing part. We are going to check up if it is right, if it is the correct expression, or if it is the message that I want to say. So maybe you erase, you write it again, you rewrite. Okay, so this is editing. Also the content. If I know about that topic that I'm going to write, what is that topic of my written test? Maybe you can read about something else, all right? And you can increase your knowledge, and then you can start, or maybe through your experiences. So this is the content, notice. Then, as we can see before, as we could see before, the type, the different types of tests. If you're going to write a note, an advertisement, a novel, all right? And it depends on the purpose, no? The purpose of writing. Then you have the medium, all right? For example, the paper is the most common, But nowadays we are replacing the paper with some electronic or digital tools, no? Luis, very good, Luis. That's it, pre-writing, thinking. Yes, the content is about. Then you have the drafting, exactly, revising. Yes, proofreading, excellent, Luis, that's it. So you summarize what we are going to talk about next. Yes, very good, very good. So here, notice all of these aspects, are related as a writing process. All of these features are related to the writing process. All the things that we need to take into consideration when we want to write something. We need to consider the audience. We need to consider the content, the medium, the type, and in the process of writing, you start editing or revising, no? As Luis says, we're going to check up. We are going to correct some sentences or some paragraphs to correct some ideas, no? So notice, all of this is involved when you write. It's not just, today I want to write, I'm in the mood of writing. Yeah, I pick up a paper and start writing. No, not just that's it, no, it's not so simple. So first you have to take into account these aspects, these features of the process of writing. Remember, this is called the process of writing or writing process. So in order to do that, we're gonna have some elements or steps or stages in the writing process. And Luis mentioned here on the chat, yeah? Luis mentioned these elements, these steps, these stages. The first one is planning, remember. The second one is drafting. Then you have the editing. And then you have the final version. Notice we have these 4 important elements in the process of writing. First, we have to plan, we have to think about what we're going to write. Then the drafting is the first go, the first try of writing. Then you pass to the editing feature when you're going to correct, revise, maybe you change something on your writing, right? And then you present, no? Your final version, you present or you published. For example, in the editing, we have an important term that is the proofreading, and that also was mentioned by Luis, yeah? Then we are going to analyze this. For example, there are two ways to check up a test. One way is that you do it by yourself, but the other one is that another person do it for you, all right? So there are 2 ways to edit or check up a test, and then we're going to analyze this. For example, planning, as I told you, it's getting your thoughts down on a paper. It's a free write. It's the online, the plan. You take notes, maybe you can discuss with someone else. You have to think about your ideas. Notice this is the first element or the first step or stage. So the planning, don't forget it. First, you need to plan. You need to think about what you are going to say. That's why here says that you're going to get your thoughts down on a paper. You pass your thoughts to the paper. Yeah, just taking notes, or maybe it's a free writing, you just start discussing, or you just think about it, all right? Now, let's pass to the other one. Oh, sorry, so we have here then the planning. The purpose of the writing, so in this part, it's very important that you need to know the purpose of your writing. You are talking about the students, so the students need to know the purpose of their writing. Then the audience, notice, So we are going back to the futures, not to the futures of this, what you need in order to write. So the audience, the types, no, the types is similar to the purpose. The purpose of writing, if you have a purpose of writing, different purpose of writing, so you have different types of tests, all right? So the content, it means the structure, sequence, the genre, the register. So notice, all is involved in this first stage of this first element. So you need to think, you need to plan, what are you going to write? So it involves to know what is the purpose of my writing? What is the audience that is going to read this test? What is the content, the topic, the structure of the test? No, because as you know, when we write a letter and we write a postcard, they are not the same. The structure of the test is different. Or maybe you want to write an essay. The structure of these three tests is different. They are different, all right? So we need to know that. Notice the sequence in order to give cohesion and coherence. The genre is related to the type of written test. That the register is related to the formal aspect of the language or informal aspect of the language. Notice, in this part, you have to think about all of these things, all right? All of these things. Now, let's continue now, yes, with the second element. Now let's see the drafting. The drafting is when you put your ideas and thoughts together. Now here you're going to form sentences and paragraphs. And now you're going to join. In the first part, you just give some notes, no, some words in an isolated way, maybe, all right? Now you're going to put together, you're going to join these words or these ideas, and you're going to make sentences. You're going to make paragraphs. So we call this the drafting. Remember, this is the drafting. Remember, draft is the first try, no? The first go about something, no? This is draft. Now let's pass to the third element. In the third element, we are going to revise and reflect. As your partner says, we are going to rewrite. Notice, we're going maybe to rewrite some parts of the test, or we are going to rearrange sentences. Also here, we're going to get a feedback or proofreading. Proofreading, as I told you, when you are going to check up a test or written test, as I told you before, there are two ways to be checked out. One, that you do it yourself by your own, and the other is that another person read it and check up your mistakes or maybe the coherence, the cohesion of the test. This is called proofreading. Remember, proofreading. So another person read your test and analyze your test and check your test, and maybe he or she is going to give you some advice, no, in order to correct some parts of the test. No? It could be a teacher. If we talk about the classroom, it could be a teacher, and it also could be a partner, a classmate. For example, you could use this technique. This is a technique, yeah, that you could use when you do this part of this skill, when you practice this skill of writing. The teacher is not the only person who can check up the writing. Another student could do it too. And it's so important because it creates an interaction. Notice, writing sometimes, yeah, you write, the student write, and then the students give it to the teacher, right? And the teacher check up and then give back, no? The teacher gives back the test with some corrections, and that's it. So it's personal, just a student, teacher, teacher, student. But what about the other students? So when you make your students check up together some pieces of written tests, so you involve the student in a more active no? In a more active process, not just a teacher, student, student, teacher. Could be student, student too, all right? So we call this proofreading, remember? Proofreading. So it means in a general term is when another person checks up your writing test, so your written test, okay? So notice here this step or a stage. In this, you're going to revise, you're going to reflect, you're going to rewrite, rearrange some sentences, getting a feedback, you know, and also a proofreading stage, okay? And then the final one is the final version. This is your final draft. Now you're going to share your work, you're going to present your work, you're going to publish, and sometimes you are going to speak about it. Notice that, as I told you, I'm going to repeat again, in not just writing, you can involve the other skills too, all right? So it's also important here. So this is the last element or the last stage or step. Some people call this stages of writing or steps of writing. Here we're calling this elements of the process of writing. So we are analyzing the writing skill as a process, all right? So we are going to do these different stages. First, planning, then drafting, after this, editing, and finally, your final version, your final draft when you share it, when you present it. Okay, so notice the different elements in the writing process, okay? So here is something important. No? I put, for example, if we go back, I'm going to go back just a little bit. So you notice I put these elements or stages in an order, no? So first planning, then drafting, then editing, and then the final version. But sometimes, no, most of the time also, you're not going to have this order. Sometimes when you are planning, maybe you start checking up your ideas. No, I think this idea is not correct. No. I'm going to change another idea. No. Notice you are not writing yet, but you are editing too, because you are checking up or you are changing some ideas that you want to say, no, this is incorrect. And you erase it. No, this is your draft. You start editing your draft. No, this is not correct. No. Yeah, I'm going to write another one. Oh no, this sentence is not correct. Okay, no. Sometimes you publish your test, you present your test, but another person read it. And so you have to rewrite it again. So notice here, that's why we have on the other slide, this picture, right? This diagram. This is the writing process as seen as the wheel, no? Notice this 4 elements and notice that you can combine, notice the arrows. You can combine planning, then you pass to editing, or maybe you to the drafting goes to the final version, but another person checks up your final version, so you pass again to the editing. So the editing, oh yeah, you have to plan again because it's not so good. Maybe the organization of your paragraph is not correct. So you need to plan it again. You need to organize it again. Notice, there is not a fixed order in these elements or in these stages. We are usually combining, no? We are going to combine this, going back, going forward. So, but at the end is the product, no? The final version. You are going to combine, maybe you go to planning, then to editing. No, it's not correct. So you draft again, another draft, and then you had the final version. This final version is checked out by another person as it is, some parts is incorrect. So you have to pass to the editing part again. And if it is not well organized, so you have to plan it again. So notice, there is not a fixed, and there is not a fixed order, no, as we presented before, no? We presented before because this is how can you say? This is common, we can say that, not a common or normal way in how to write something, no? But we can change, no? We can go back to a one stage and then go to another, and then you can go back to the previous one, and then you pass to another one. So it's not a fix. Yeah? Let me tell you that this is not fixed. It's not, yeah, first planning, then drafting, then editing, and final version. That's it. No more. No necessarily. Yeah? No necessarily. Okay, in the real process of writing, you can pass from one stage to another stage so easily, all right? So easily. But the most important is to know these 4 stages, no? Planning, drafting, editing, and the final version, okay? Now, when we analyze how we, or what we need in order to write, it's important to differentiate the written language and the spoken language. No, as I told you before, no, when you gave me the definitions of writing, no, you told me that it's a way of transmitting, a way of communication, but you didn't tell me something important: how we are going to transmit these messages, this information. When we talk about speaking, we're going to use the oral language, and when we talk about the writing, we use the written language. Most of the time, notice, most of the time, these kind of skills uses some similar processes, and we are going to analyze this. So, as I told you before, we need to consider the similarities and differences between writing and speaking, both in terms of their forms and in the processes that writers and speakers go through produce the language. So we need to analyze this, no? In order to identify, in order to differentiate. For example, nowadays, sometimes the writing seems to be speaking. We could use a lot of tools or techniques in order to synthesize our writing, no? We use some specific symbols, no? And so on, no? Sometimes it's not so, they are not so understandable, especially for young people, no? They use another kind of symbols when they write, no? So it's kind of difficult to recognize what they're writing. So here, we are going to analyze some similarities and differences between speaking and writing. One of the aspects that we could find a difference or similarities related to the time and space. For example, again, going back to the definitions that you gave me, that you told, one of you said that this is permanent, right? When we write, it's something permanent. So here we are going to have some other aspects too, no? The time and space, the participants, the process of writing or speaking, the organization and languages, the signs and symbols, and also the product. So we are going to analyze these aspects in order to differentiate speaking and writing. But also remember, we have a lot of similarities too. It doesn't mean that they are completely different. No, in some occasions, most of the occasions, they share some similitudes, right? Oh, someone outside my house is having a party. Okay, so let's start with the first one, that time and space. So here we have 2 terms, immediacy and transiency. Immediacy, yes, Juan Carlos, I think they are starting celebrating Halloween, or maybe the Creole music. No, but I think it's salsa. All right, so going back to the topic. So when we talk about time and space, remember we have these 2 terms, immediacy and transiency. So immediacy, it means that, for example, when we speak, there is an immediate interaction, no, between people. When you speak to someone else, you say something and the other person start responding, all right? So it's at the moment. You do this activity at the moment. The other is the transitions. So here it's related to the time, no? Space, if it is permanent or not. Most of the time, the written tests are permanent, no? You could see a test from maybe 50 years ago or 100 years ago, or you can publish this book, first edition, second edition, third edition, and you see this material for a long time. Something that does not happen with a speaking part, no? It's more at the moment, right? You do this at the moment. But nowadays, we are changing that. Nowadays, we are recording, no? We are recording some dialogues or some speeches or some conversations. And we could say that this could be also a little of transiency. And at the same time, in a written test, for example, you have in your cell phone, maybe some groups, some chat groups, no? For example, in this specialization, we have a chat group. But what happened with your cell phone is completely full. What do you start doing? Erase it, erase it. This message is not important. Erase it, erase it, erase it, erase it. Maybe your partner or some of your friends or colleagues sent you a message, but you think it's not important. What do? Erase it. So it's not permanent. Notice this written test is not so permanent. It seems to be like a speaking, right? Because you erase it. So it's no longer here. You cannot see it anymore. Notice how we are changing. This is process of speaking and writing, no? That's why here says some similarities and differences, no? Let's pass to the other, the participants. This is related again to the interaction, no, between between people, no? The audience and the co-participants. When you speak, you interact, no? You have one person to listen and this person also speaks, no? So this is the process of speaking. In the writing, you have an audience. The audience is going to read your test, but it's not spontaneously, it's not immediately, right? And also in the speaking, you have some co-participants. This is related to the interaction too, all right? Because both of you are going to participate in the conversation, in the dialogue. But when you write something, it's not immediate, no? For example, maybe, yes, you can have a participation of the other person who reads, but it's not immediately. But again, nowadays, this is changing. Again, with the digital tools, you send a message through the chat, and in a few seconds, you have an answer. All right? So it's a kind of co-participation. Maybe you write a test, no? Maybe you write a test and you publish this test or an article maybe on the web. And maybe some of your partners or your friends or colleagues start reading it and then send you a comment. So it's a kind of co-participation, right? It's a kind of co-participation. It's not exactly the same as the speaking, but it's a kind of, all right? It's a kind of participation. Notice, these two processes are not so different, no? They are not so different. Nowadays, this space or this gap between speaking and writing is missing, is losing. The space, the gap now between speaking and writing is just a few, just a little, all right? Just a few things, no? Just a little, all right? So they are kind of similar processes. Now, let's pass to the other one. The process. As I told you before, here in the speaking part, this is an instant process because you think and you speak. In the writing, as we have seen before, we have some stages, no? First you plan, then you make your draft, then you edit, and then you present your final version. But on the other side, the speaking part sometimes have some stages of the writing process. For example, we are talking, or I am talking and you are listening to me, maybe I'm asking questions and you answer to me. It's a kind of a speaking session, right? A kind of, because it's not really speaking. So this speech that I'm producing, first I need to plan it. Because, oh yeah, first I'm going to talk about it, no, according to the material that I sent you. So first I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to talk about this. Notice, I am planning. Maybe I'm thinking what expressions to use. Maybe I'm thinking what synonyms or antonyms I'm going to use in order to give you more clearly the definitions. Maybe, oh, no, this is not correct. This expression, no, I'm going to change. No, I'm not going to use this. No, this part, no. Or maybe, oh no, this part I'm not going to present. Notice, I am using some stages of the writing process too. All right? For example, when we talk about speaking, we have different types of speaking, right? Plan, semi-plan, or spontaneously. So plan is what we are talking about now, no? Right now we are, I am speaking, you are listening to me, I'm asking questions. So it involves a kind of a process, right? Similar to the writing one, all right? Notice here. So that's what I told you again, that speaking and writing, most of the time are almost similar. They share some similitudes, some similarities. They are not so different. Let's pass to the other three aspects. Organization and language, correctness and well-formedness. As you know, when we write, we always check, no? We always check, oh yeah, no, this sentence is not correct. Oh, no, here I'm going to organize better. The paragraphs are not so connected. Notice, this is related to correctness and well-formedness. If your sentences are well-formed or not, it doesn't happen so much in the speaking part, right? In the speaking is more spontaneously. It's more spontaneous, but it's not always. As I told you before, again, when I plan my speech, I'm going to start correcting too. I'm going to start checking up if my sentences are well formed or not. So it's a kind of writing too, okay? So notice, it is a difference, but at the same time, it's a kind of similitude between the speaking and writing process. Then we have the signs and symbols. So here we're going to use some paralinguistic features, punctuation marks, and emoticons. For example, when we speak, we use the first part a lot, no? Paralinguistic features. What is the meaning of paralinguistic features? What is the idea of paralinguistic features? No, nobody? We talked about it in the speaking part. We talked about the paralinguistic features.
They are not language as such, but are used in parallel with language.
Aha, yes. The paralinguistic feature, the name says so. Paralinguistics are non-linguistic forms in order to communicate to another person. We're going to use our gestures, all right? Facial expressions, or maybe the movement of parts of your body, no? For example, when you don't agree with someone else, what do? You nod your head, right? And you make this sound, no? No. When you're surprised, wow. Notice, these are the paralinguistic features. Your face, no, express surpriseness. When you're sad, you feel depressed. Maybe your voice is low. no? You speak softly. You don't want to talk too much. Notice, these are the paralinguistic features, all right? So these are non-linguistic forms of languages, but we use it to communicate. So in speaking, we use it a lot. What about writing? Can we use paralinguistic features in writing? No, right? Because these are more related to the gesture movements of the body. But what are we going to do in the written test? We're going to use punctuation marks. No, the question mark, the
Teacher,
exclamation mark. Yeah,
what about,
tell me.
yes, what about the emoticons?
Ah, yeah, yes. But yes, we are going to talk about this. So the punctuation marks are usually used in a written test, no? We use the question marks, we use the, the exclamation marks, we use the comma, the period, the final point. So we are going to use these symbols, no? These signs, in order to give our tests, no? More relevance, no? And also nowadays we're using the famous emoticons. What are the emoticons? The emoticons is a way of them try to imitate the paralinguistic features. If you are sad, the face, no? You use the face, a sad face. You don't write, I am sad. You don't say, I am sad. No. In the chat, you use it a lot of days, right? So if you're angry, oh yeah, an angry face, an upset face, and double or triple. So you do it a lot of times, right? So notice, we are changing the way of writing. Instead of paralinguistic features, we use nowadays the famous emoticons. Emoticons are the feelings, no? Represented by images, pictures. Generally, we use these yellow images, no? Yellow pictures. So notice how the way of writing is a kind of similar to the speaking one. So we cannot use our gestures, we cannot use our real gestures or our real movements or our real sounds or tones, but nowadays we are using the emoticons. Notice how we are changing, how we are changing our way of writing. And also, as I told you, nowadays young people are used to write, they are used to writing like this, using a lot of emoticons or symbols, no?
Symbols
Yeah, yes, smileys, no? We call this the smileys, no? The smiley. For example, my daughter, sometimes he starts writing with her classmates, no? With her classmates. And what is that? And she uses the comma, the point, and the underscore in order to draw faces. I can understand. Sometimes I can understand. And yeah, Dad, please come on. It means sad. Oh, sad. All right. Yeah. Dad, please. This means happy. I'm happy. Oh, it means that I agree. Oh, no, this is so complicated. This is a new kind of writing. No, so here we have to get used to it. No, we have to get used to it. All right, so notice this is another aspect that we have to differentiate. All have a similitude. Notice they are not so different. Let's pass to the other. The product, the final. So the product, when we write, most of the time is at the end, no? After editing, after revising, after having written the draft, or after having think about something. So at the end, you finish your product. But when we speak, it's just work in progress. So for example, okay, how are you today? Oh, yes, I am fine. No, my product is at the moment in progress, all right? Oh, tell me about what you did yesterday. Oh, yesterday I went to the casino with my friends. Then we played some video games. Notice the product is at the moment, all right? But again, I'm going to compare it to my session. the product of my speech is right now, but I prepare it, no, I prepare it some time ago, right? So no, this is not spontaneously, all right? It's not spontaneously. My kind of a speech is planned and semi-planned, no? Because I plan what to say, but I'm going to give you spontaneous decisions or ideas, no? Something that I have in mind, I inserted to my speech. So I combine, notice, I combine some stages of the writing with the speaking part. Notice here, that's why we could say that speaking and writing have some differences, yeah, common differences, but at the same time, they have similarities, all right? They have similarities that we are going to use daily, no, every day in our life, no, also when we teach in a classroom, all right? So don't forget about these differences and similitudes that speaking and writing share, all right? Okay, now let's pass to the other aspect here, implication for learning and teachers. For many years, the teaching and writing focus on the written product rather than all the writing process. Now, I talked about a little bit of this topic. In other words, the students' attention was directed to what rather than the how of test construction. So you emphasize more on the result of these written tests, and you didn't emphasize on how this person is going to write, how is going to get to the product of this test. We want to, or we emphasize more on the product, the result, the final, not in the process. And what does it happen? I told you, no, because of the time, no? Sometimes this, as I told you, this writing skill is a time-consuming activity. You need a lot of time, and you make your students first to think, then they are going to draft, then they are going to edit, notice, and then they are going to present or publish. Maybe you make some corrections, so the partner makes another correction and they have to rewrite it again, plan it again, or they are going to do another draft. Notice, it involves time, no? It involves time. So we need to concentrate on the process of writing. So there are some strategies we need to consider. The way we get students to plan, this is very important. So how can we get our students to plan? You could use brainstorming activities or guided task activities. Notice, in order to reinforce this first stage of planning. The way we encourage them to draft, reflect, and revise. So we could use here collaborative writing, no? The peer edition. So we call this also the peer edition, the proofreading, all right? So they are going to check up together a test, or they check up each other test, all right? So you are promoting, notice, you are promoting this process of writing, not just the result. The way we respond to our students' writing, so reformulation or peer response. Maybe the teacher could give, no, at the end when they are writing the draft, no? So they start checking up with some instructional model given by the teacher, and they could rearrange again or change some aspects of the writing. So notice here, all right? Not just, yeah, at the end, yeah, these are your mistakes. You made this word, you write incorrectly this, you didn't use the correct tense, and that's it. And you give to the student, and that's all. Notice, you don't emphasize on the process. You just emphasize on the result. And most of the time happens, no? And as I told you before, because sometimes we don't have enough time, no? This is our principal problem in order to do properly this writing skill in our classes, not the time, because this writing skill is time consuming, no? It needs a lot of time. Now, let's pass to the other part of this session. A written test. What aspects are we going to analyze in a written test? Here you have 4 aspects. Notice we have 4 aspects. One of the aspects of a written test is the genre, the different types of tests according to the purpose of communication. Remember, according to the purpose of communication, because writing is a way to communicate. So there are different reasons of communication, different purposes of communication. So if you have different purposes of communication, it means that you have different types of writing. So this is the genre. And if we have different types of writing, we could also have different types of test construction. As I told you before, if you write a postcard and you write an essay, the structure, the pattern of these tests are not the same, all right? They have different structures, different patterns, how to write each test. That's why here this is another important aspect when we describe a written test. The other important aspect is the cohesion and coherence. Sometimes we get confused with these two terms, no? Cohesion, coherence. Sometimes we say that we could think that they are the same, but they are not the same. They are different. All right, then we are going to talk about this. What is the difference between cohesion and coherence? And finally, you have the register. It's the way you use the language in different contexts, no? Formal or informal, all right? This is the register, okay? So, yeah, oh, Doris, yeah, you wrote a message about the last topic. Okay, technology, you're using any kind, yeah, with technology, yes, technology has changed the way we communicate in a written form, no? It's just completely changed the way we communicate in a written form. All right, let's start with the genre. We have different types, notice, we have different types of tests or written tests or different genres. For example, the first one is a descriptive genre. So here you have the sketches, character sketches, descriptive essays, descriptive sentences. No? So here you have, this is the different type of tests. Remember, different type of test, written test. And remember, written test. One of them is a descriptive one. You are going to describe something or someone. No? So you have here the character sketches, the descriptive essays, and the descriptive sentences. The other genre is the expository. Here you could have alphabet books, autobiography, essays, posters, reports, summaries. And so this is the different, remember, different types of written tests according to the genre. The other one are the journals and letters. So we have different kind of letters, no? Just writing here one example, no? Business letter, complaint letter, no? So you have a different kind of letters. Email messages, friendly letters, learning logs, personal journals. So this is the genre related to journals and letters. The other one is the narrative. In narrative, we have original short stories, no stories, personal narratives, and story scripts. In the persuasive, we have advertisements, book and movie reviews, persuasive essays, persuasive letters. And notice here you have these kind of different tests, written tests. And finally, we have the poetry genre. We could find here the acrostic poems, color poems, free verbs, poems for two voices. So here we have this different types. Remember, journal, this is the technical name, no? But journal, in simple words, are the different types of written tests according to the purpose. You are going to describe something, you are going to explain something, you are going to inform something, you are going to narrate something, you are going to persuade somebody, and you are going to declaim something. No? This is the literary aspect, the sophisticated language. All right, we use here the sophisticated language, all right, using some figurative features, no? Simile, hyperbole, no? So we use a kind of these figurative elements of writing, literary work, no? So notice this is all related to the journal. So when we talk about written tests, we're going to describe a written test by its journal. And as I told you before, if we have different genres or different types of tests, of written tests, so obviously we are going to have different test constructions, different structures of the test, all right? So we are going to analyze some of them. What can you see here? What kind of writing is this? What type of written test is this?
A postal card?
A postcard, right?
Yeah, postcard.
Yes, this is a postcard. So what is the structure of a postcard?
The most important, necessary.
Yeah, you write here the most important data, no? Because this is a short message, no? You're not going to write longer. So notice here, the structure is this. Notice this structure. First, you are going to describe a place. No, the postcard, the purpose of a postcard is to talk about places or different activities that you are doing or you did in your trip or a travel or in a place, all right? So first you describe the description of place where the writer is or the activities the writer is involving. So here you can see, no, palm trips, wave slapping, daily message, good fish to eat. So you're describing. Then you're exhortating, you're having an exhortation to the reader. How you do as well in Madeira and have a good rest. And finally, you sign off. Love, J and A. So this is the structure, how you construct a postcard, all right? So notice, this is the structure of this test. And what is the purpose of this written test? To describe something, right? To describe activities. So this is the purpose of this test. And so it has a special structure. What about the other one? Let's see another one. What is this? And you have here, what is this?
This advertisement from the newspaper?
Not exactly, notice. Paul was sitting at home. Yeah, it's a paragraph, no? Maybe from a letter, no? Maybe from a letter. So when we talk about a structure or test construction, it doesn't need a complete test. We could also analyze the structure of paragraphs. For example, here we're going to analyze the structure of a paragraph. This is a sequence paragraph, maybe taken from a letter, no? Maybe, all right? So here you have some sequencing sentences to make a paragraph. And what is the structure? Notice what is the structure of this test. So first, we're going to write about the situation. Paul was sitting at home. Then a problem. He didn't have any ideas. Then a solution or a response. But then the phone rang and it was his friend, Sarah, asking if he wanted to go and see a movie because he didn't have any ideas. No? He didn't know what to do. So here you can have a possible solution, a response to his problem. And finally, you have the evaluation or result. He agreed immediately and was out of the door in almost no time at all. So notice, here you can see in this paragraph a structure. Notice you have here a structure, a composition of this paragraph. First, the situation. You write about the situation. Then a problem related to the situation. Then a possible solution. And finally, the result or the evaluation. Notice you have here a structure. Comparing with the other one, the previous one, notice that the previous one is a complete test, no? It's a complete postcard. But in this part, it's just a paragraph. It's not a complete test. So when we talk about the test construction, it doesn't mean that you are going to talk about just about complete test, complete written test. You could also talk about the structure of a paragraph too. So according to the purpose of communication, the purpose of writing, you can have a lot of different tests, different written tests. And so you could have different structures, different test constructions. Let's pass to another one. Now this is from How the Internet Crashed by Peter Headley. So maybe this is an article, maybe an article on the web, maybe, all right? But we are going to analyze the structure again. Notice the structure. First, you have a topic sentence. Topic sentence, remember, topic sentence is a sentence which introduces the topic, here it says, of the subject that the person is going to write. Here it says, introduces the subject matter of the paragraph. Could be a topic sentence of paragraphs or topic sentence of a test. Then you have an example. Explanation sentence expands on the information given in the topic sentence. So notice, let's analyze this. Many people thought that they could make a lot of money from selling goods and services on the internet. This is the idea. This is the topic of this paragraph. So this person is going to talk about how people think they could make money selling goods or services on the internet. So this is the topic sentence. Then he expands, the person, or could be he or she, or Peter, he expands on the information given in the topic sentence. They started up companies called .coms after suffixes using their internet addresses. Notice here. Then you have follow-on sentence. Expands on the information given in the example or explanation sentence. They hope that people would rush to buy it online because it would be more convenient. And finally, he gets a conclusion. Ends the paragraph by reminding us of and or evaluating the opening topic sentence. Excellent, Luis, yes. That topic sentence is usually one line, describing as a descriptive sentence, a statement talks about what the rest of the article will be about. Excellent, that's it. So this is a topic sentence. Remember, don't forget about this term, the topic sentence. So you introduce, you present that topic to the reader, all right? It's just a line, no? Summarizing all the idea, the general idea of the test. Then you explain, and notice you explain, or you give an example. Then you expand this explanation, or you expand this example. And finally, you get a conclusion. Ends the paragraph by reminding us of and or evaluating the opening topic sentence. For example, this person finishes with this, but for the most part, they did not make the kind of money they expected, and in some cases, they lost everything they had invested. So he evaluates, no? He's evaluating that topic sentence, because the topic sentence is related to people could make a lot of money from selling goods and services on the internet, but no, most of them, so they didn't make the kind of money they expected, and they lost everything they had invested. Notice, these are simple written tests. If you notice, we're talking about just simple written tests. But these simple written tests, one complete the postcard and the other two paragraphs, all of them have a test construction, all right? So notice here, two aspects on a written test. First, the genre, it means the type of test that we are going to write according to the purpose, the reason of writing. Then according to this type of test, we have different type of structures, how we are going to structure our written test. And also paragraphs, no? Remember, not just a whole test, we could have also structures in paragraphs. Now, let's pass to the other aspect, that is cohesion and coherence. What is cohesion and coherence? Cohesion and coherence aren't too difficult to explain. It's not so difficult to be explained. For example, cohesion refers to connectivity in a test. How you connect your sentences in a test, all right? The connection, connectivity. Remember, cohesion refers to connectivity in a test. Coherence refers to how easy it is to understand the writing. And notice here the difference. Cohesion, connection, connectivity. Coherence, the understanding of the text. If you can understand easily the text, if there is a clear message of the text, there is no misorganization of ideas, two different ideas. No, these ideas must be related, no? So notice, this is the coherence. Yeah? This is the coherence. How easy it is to understand the writing. Yeah? Cohesion, connectivity. Coherence, understanding. And this is in simple words. Simple words, cohesion, connection, connectivity. Coherence, understanding. Clear ideas, connected ideas, remember, don't forget about it. So let's start with, we're just getting to the end. Yeah, we are going to talk about the cohesion. Yeah? So there are two types of cohesion. Yeah? Remember this, there are two types of cohesion. We have a grammatical cohesion and a lexical cohesion. Yeah, don't forget about these two types of cohesion, grammatical cohesion and lexical cohesion. For example, here when we talk about the grammatical, we have the reference occurs when one of the items in test points to another element or for its interpretation. So here we use personal reference, demonstrative reference, comparative reference. For example, in the personal reference, we have I, you, she, they. They are the subject pronouns, the object pronouns, the possessive pronouns, and the reflexive pronouns. So we're going to use these words to, remember, to refer to another item in the test. Demonstrative reference, here, there, this, that, refers to the location, notice, to the location of presupposed elements. Comparative reference, bigger, more diligent, and etc., refers to compared adjectives of one noun to another. Let's see here some examples. I never met him before. My friend said that he is a kind and helpful professor. I wish I can see Professor William soon. Notice, Professor William is the item in the test that you're going to repeat. But in order not to repeat Professor William, Professor William, Professor William, so you use a personal, personal reference. You use him, you use he. Him, he refers to the same person, no? Professor William, all right? Another one, demonstrative. There was born and grew up. There I was born, sorry. There I was born and grew up. There I met him, my beloved one. There we raised our kids. There in a small town called Slawi. It is like a poem, no? Like a poem. So we are talking about the city, not the town, Slawi. And in order not to repeat this word, so we use there, no? There, there, there. So it refers to Slawi, all right? This word there refers to Slawi. Another one, here you have the comparative. In a boutique, the woman says, I think this blouse is too dark for my skin. Can I have the lighter, please? Notice, lighter. Lighter is referring to what?
The blouse.
This was referring. Yes, the blouse, no? It means that he wants another color. She wants a blouse, but in another color, right? So can I have the, for example, in order not to repeat, no, too dark, no? Can I have the dark blouse or the less dark blouse? So in order not to repeat that, so you say lighter. So you use just the comparative. You're using the comparative to refer, remember we're talking about reference, to refer to a previous item. Here you have a previous one that is the blouse. Notice we're using here the personal pronouns, subject pronouns, demonstratives, and comparative. And we are using to make reference. This is one. Oh, this is the same, sorry. Yeah, let's pass to the other one. Substitution is the replacement of one item by another. So we have here nominal substitution. Oh, sorry. Nominal substitution, verbal substitution, and clausal substitution. Nominal substitution, you use one, once, same. Verbal substitution, do, did. Clausal substitution, so, not. Look at the examples. When I was a kid, I had a kitten, but then it lost. I wish I had a same now. Notice here, same is referring to the
Kitten.
Kitten. So you're substituting, right? You're substituting kitten in order not to repeat kitten. So you use same. I wish I had the same noun. So you don't say the same kitten. No, no, the same now. Eh? Do you think John already knows? I think everybody does. Notice here you using this expression, do, did. For example, no? So you say, did Carla go to the party? And you say, oh, yes, I think she did. And you don't say, I think she went to the party. No. So you say, yes, I think she did. And notice that you're using here a substitution, no? You're replacing knows with the verb does. If you say the not so often, of course, you know what they are like. You are interpreting that you know these people, and you say you know what they're like. I believe so. Alice replied thoughtfully. I believe so. So I believe similar like you, no? That you know what they're like. All right? So you replace, notice, you know what they're like is replaced, so it's substituted by the word so. I believe so. For example, no, a simple example, you say, I think, for example, you could say, I think Maria will pass her test. I think so. I think so. Notice, you are replacing, no? Yes, I think Maria will pass her exam too. No, so you say, I think so. You use the word so, all right? And finally, with this, we're going to finish. Do you think that the assignment will due this week? I hope not. I haven't written anything. So notice, you replace the whole phrase. You think that the assignment will due this week? I hope not. This not is substituting the other phrase, the longer phrase. So notice, we call this, we use these techniques, no? We are going to use this in order to give a cohesion, cohesion to our test. Well, we are going to stay here. The next session, we are going to reinforce this because we have to talk more techniques that we are going to use to give cohesion. Remember, we're talking about the lexical and the grammatical. No? First, we're analyzing the lexical cohesion and then the grammatical cohesion. So next class, we are going to finish this topic, not just this topic, this part, and then we are going to pass to the second aspect of the module, all right? Well, that's all for today. Yes, Luis, very good, Luis. It helps to avoid redundancy. Excellent, that's right. Okay, well, it was a pleasure again to talk to you. Take care a lot. See you next class. Okay, bye-bye. See you, take care a lot. Bye-bye.
Okay, see you next class.
Bye.
Bye, teacher. See you next week.
Bye-bye. See you next week.
See you next week. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you.